here's one of the amplifiers that I use here, and it's probably the amplifier that I use the most at the moment, but it really does. It sort of switches up quite a bit. But this is the one I use for a lot of clean tones, a lot of slightly overdriven, crunchy tones, and absolutely, without a doubt, the amplifier I use for every single high gain distortion sound, because this amp is a distortion machine. This is gotta be the hands down best sounding high gain amplifier I have ever heard in my entire life. This amp, I just can't get over how good it sounds. It's just unbelievable. It's just... Oh wow, what a great sounding amplifier. I really only use the tone controls in a couple of different ways, and there's a couple of different things that I do with the amplifier. So it's got a foot switch here, and I'll just kind of hold, hopefully you can see that here. It's got a foot switch right here, and I know it's upside down, but it just allows me to change the channel from distortion to clean, and then I can turn the reverb on and off. The reverb in the amplifier sounds pretty good, good enough. Here's what it sounds like right here. It's a really nice Accutronics reverb. There it is at 50%. That's what the reverb sounds like. I think it sounds really nice. You know, I usually leave it at around 20% or something like that. I find it's a little tricky to get the reverb dialed into just the right amount when you're on the distortion channel. I don't actually really like to use the reverb with the distortion channel. I just sort of like to leave it turned off. But I do like the way the reverb sounds with the clean channel a lot. It sounds really nice, especially with the gain turned up as well too. And speaking of that, that's one of the ways that I use this amplifier. So this way right here, I just turn the volume up just to like 6, and then the master on 5. I leave the high and the mid on 5, and I just turn the low up a little bit to 6. And then that's usually how I leave the tone set up on the clean channel here. And I'm going to turn that reverb off again here. Yeah, and it's a really great sound. And then the other way I use the clean channel is I just turn the gain up all the way. Wow, that's such a good sound. I love it. Yeah, so it's such a nice crunchy. It feels so spongy too, and it's really reactive, and it's just there's a lot of give and take going on with the amplifier. It's really nice, and I think that's a really important to point out, because this is not a standard amplifier by any stretch. This is a really old amplifier for one. It's probably made back in the 80s, and it's made by this B.K. Butler guy I don't know too much about, but apparently B.K. Butler is knows his way around an amplifier pretty well. It's handmade right there in the USA. It says right there, and it's a 2-channel real tube Moss valve amp. So what that means is they use a whole bunch of real vacuum tubes in the preamp section of this amp, and it's got quite a few tubes in it. I think it's got something like 3 or 4 or something like that in the preamps of it. I think there's like 2 tubes in in each channel, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But it doesn't use power amp tubes. It uses these. It uses like these. I don't even know what the heck they are. They're called Moss valves. But whatever the heck they are not vacuum tubes, but they are the thing that makes the amplifier loud, and they sure do sound good, whatever the heck they are. Wow, they are. I just can't say it enough. This is such a nice sounding amplifier. And back in I picked this thing up for like super cheap from the pawn shop, honestly, just a few months ago. And because this sort of style of amplifier, I don't think is very sort of like, I don't know, like desirable these days. I don't know if that's the word for it, but they're not very cool, that's for sure. Because it's not all tube, you know? It's not like a Fender or like a nice Boogie or something like that, you know? But I think that if you use the amp for like what it's sort of meant to be used for, and like whenever it was designed back in the 80s, it really shines, you know? Wow, does this amplifier ever sound good? And how I first heard about it was, well, honestly, I just walked into the pawn shop and I saw it, and it looked really cool. Like, here, I'll just get just go down here because it's in a big 212 cabinet here. Check that out. Oh, it's so cool. It's a pretty big amplifier actually, and they had it for like a really good price. It was like, I don't know, like $300 or something like that from the pawn shop. And the pots were really scratchy on it, you know, and that sort of stuff. And so anyways, I bargained with the dude a little bit, and it was a really great guy working there. And anyways, I was able to get the amp home for a really great price. And here it is. I haven't even really done anything to it. You know, at some point in time, I'd really like to take it all apart and spray out all the pots and just tidy it up a bit and, you know, that sort of stuff. But as it is, it's like I just sort of vacuumed it up a little bit, and it sounds pretty good and works pretty good. So I'm just sort of enjoying it like it is. But anyways, the clean channel is really, really, really nice on this amplifier. Compared to like a Fender Deluxe Reverb, no, it's not as nice as a Fender Deluxe Reverb or a Twin or something like that. No, it's not going to sound chimey like that, but nothing is going to sound as chimey as a Fender Deluxe Reverb or a Twin unless you have a Fender Deluxe Reverb or a Twin, and that's what they do, you know. This amplifier doesn't do that, but what it does do is it does sound really good, and the cleans sound really nice and chimey and really like distinct, and the high end is really, I don't know, it sounds really nice. It's really enjoyable to play through. And I really didn't expect that from the amplifier, you know? Like, I know what solid state amplifiers sound like typically, you know, but this one is like, it's not like a regular one. It sounds, I don't know, I think it's those Moss valves that are in it or something. There's something going on inside this amplifier, you know? Anyways, that's just the clean channel. Let's check out the distortion channel on it. That's where the thing really shines here. Oh, it's like so tempting to just play big fat A and G and E chords on it. But the amplifier is capable of far better riffage than just your standard chunky A and G chords, I assure you. Although that's what I tend to gravitate towards. But like when you're really like when you're really digging in, you know, like it's got all the gain you need and then some more. And it's got this cool like anti-feedback circuitry built into the amplifier as well too. It's totally passive. It's just working all the time, but it enables you to run with really high gain without like having it erupt into crazy amounts of feedback, as you can see right now. Like I'm just holding the strings down on the guitar. If I take my hands off, it'll start feedback, you know. But that's nice, you know, and it's a really nice sort of a controlled feedback as well too, which is really fun to play with. And by the way, that's one of the things I really like about this amp, just while I'm on it. Like, let me just hold down and say like a low G note on the guitar and listen to it as it feeds back. it's like harmonic feedback that will follow the note I play on the guitar. Check this out. And the amp isn't even turned up very loud right now. I'm telling you, when the amp is up loud and you do that, it's like the guitar's a violin. It is like you don't even have to touch it with your pick. Like you just hold down the notes and they just go. It's so cool. All right, well, I'm just going to turn it up just for a second so I can show you. And then if you use it with your delay pedal and your volume control, really nice. It's like an EBO. Stuff with it indeed. I think that's the yeah, hopefully I have that at the same volume that it was at before. Maybe, I don't know. No, I definitely had that other setting right there. Yeah, so what more can I tell you about the amplifier? Yeah, let's go have a look at the back side of the amplifier and you can see all the cool stuff that's back there as well too. Yeah, you can see over there it's got a couple of speaker outputs. It's got a line output on it, and over here, there we go. It's got an effects loop, and there's like individual volumes for the send and the receive, which is really nice on it. And then it's got a couple of jacks. We'll just go right on over here. There we go, and it's got a couple of jacks up there for the foot switch to plug in a couple of different places. So you can have the foot switch control, like the channel switching and the reverb. Or there's like two types of gain on the distortion channel. Like you can layer two different sort of layers of distortion on it. So if you plug the foot switch in over here, it'll allow you to switch between the two different types of distortion or the clean or distortion channel. And then the reverb's just on all the time. But I like to use it in this one so I can turn the reverb on or off. Yeah. And yeah, so that's what that part of the amplifier looks like. And then just going down here, there's just a bit of a cavity in the back of it right there. And yeah. And that's what the back of the amplifier looks like. Here is the other amp that I use here at Mears Lab, and this is an amplifier that I built myself. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this one right now because I want to save it for another video, but just in short, this is an all-tube amplifier that I made myself. It's the first amplifier that I've made. And it's basically like a little Fender Champ, but I've sort of modified it a bit from there. It's got one 6V6 power tube and one 12AX7 preamp tube. And it's got a couple of big transformers out of an old reel-to-reel. And it probably runs about 8 watts or so. I run the power tube really hot inside of it intentionally. I've got a whole bunch of old 6V6s. And not so hot that it like ruins them, but I do want to squeeze as much tone out of this amplifier as I can. And yeah, this is a really cool sounding amplifier. This is the one that gives me sort of those nicer, chimier sort of sounding cleans if I want them. And this gives me just a really nice, straight up classic rock, like old school Fender tone, you know? It's not quite as thick and full sounding as the TubeWorks amplifier, but it does have a great tone all on its own. I use it with this Traynor 212 guitar cabinet, and it's not really that great of a sounding guitar cabinet. I bet if I plugged it into some nicer speakers, it'd sound even better than this. But anyways, I kind of like the sound out of this cabinet, and I feel like it's a pretty good pairing for the amplifier. Anyways, this amp is all about the tone control. It's super simple. I mean, there's nothing to it. It's literally like the guitar is plugged almost directly into the preamp tube, and then it basically just goes like through a little bit of like filtering, and then it goes into the power tube, and then it like just gets really loud, and then it goes through the transformer, and then the output transformer over here, and then it just goes out to the speaker. It's like as simple as it gets. There's no tone controls or anything else like that, and it's 8 ohms, the output on it. About 8 ohms or so. Anyways, it's all about the tone control here, so let's just this doesn't overload my microphone. But yeah, you can get like some pretty rockin' tones here. I'm gonna just turn down the microphone a little bit here before I overload it here, okay? I really like it once you start to push the drive of this amplifier. So here we are. Now we're up at about, I don't know, something like 50, 60%, something like that. And now this is what it starts to sound like. It's kind of bitey sounding. It's not like super thick and full, but it does have a character on its own. It sounds nice with the neck pickup a lot. And then if I use like the OCD overdrive pedal on it too. Or maybe like the Rat. I'm just gonna turn the filter up a little bit on the Rat. I'm sorry, but no, I'm not gonna turn it up all the way to 10 because I want to save that for a future video, and I might even tweak the amplifier a little bit more. But yeah, this has been sort of my main amplifier for years, and let's just turn down the volume there a little bit here so it's not so loud. Yeah, and I made this amplifier, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it's been my main amplifier ever since then. And then I picked up this TubeWorks amplifier just to give me a different range of tones that I just can't really seem to get out of this one, you know? Anyways, it's fun to make your own amplifier, but it's not really all that hard, and it's really fun to learn all the theory behind it. So if you're interested in stuff like that, then yeah, you can check out some more videos here, because I have some content focused on that very stuff here on this channel. But really, the focus on this channel is more towards like the gear. If you want to learn more about the theory behind the electricity that makes all the gear work, then maybe check out some channels like Mr. Carlson's Lab with Paul Carlson. That's a really great resource to learn electronics. Or another one really awesome, which is focused more on guitar equipment, is Uncle Doug's channel. If you haven't checked him out, where he repairs old tube amplifiers, oh, he's just like the coolest guy ever, and his channel is fantastic and a really great educational resource as well too. Yeah, and then you can learn how to make an amplifier like this all by yourself too. Here's a shot of both amplifiers beside each other. Well, that wraps up today's video where we covered the guitar rig that I use in the Mears Lab home studio. I hope you enjoyed it, folks, and if you did, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the Mears Lab channel for more as well, too. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.